Good morning. How are you? Happy Sunday. I'm in that part of the day where it's in the 50s, heading towards 60, and I won't be out when it's in the 70s. But it's okay. You wear a sweater. You're fine. The movement that we're suffering, which is variously called MAGA, and parents have names for themselves. They're not going to co-parent with the government. And the theme that runs through all these different groups is some aspect of racism, white supremacy, fictional religious beliefs like a fecundated ovum as a person, a fear of the mingling of the races, a fear of aliens at the border. We had know-nothing parties in the past. A whole variety, a mixture, a toxic mixture of bad impulses that suggest ignorance and violence. Now, we had this with the Tea Party when they resisted the fact that a person of color had become a president. And some of that was pretty severe. If you remember, public meetings turned into shouting contests, and sometimes not much got done. And some people canceled these meetings, and it was a reaction that we had to deal with. Well, they've come back and they're worse. And the present army of, I wanted to say imbeciles, and I guess that's a good word, but worse than that, they're amoral, hating, they lack empathy, they don't see the common weal as anything that you should work for. So what's the manifestation of this? Across the country, parents are forming to make racism comfortable in our schools by keeping our children ignorant. They are against the virus and masks. They describe it as a freedom, though it's an imposition and adversarial to those of us who care about our health and safety, and they don't care about their children. And on top of it, they want to find ways to suppress the vote, and they want to drive elected officials off these boards, school boards, and replace them, because that's the first rung. And then a side category of this effort is this helps organize them for the general election. I know this sounds terribly conspiratorial, but it's really basic organizational politics. But usually it is more better intentioned than what we're seeing now. So I'll give you an example. There, right in my county, which has been covered in the papers and on network and cable news, for the outrageous demonstration at school board meetings. Well, they used the law that you can remove public officials, and they got the signatures and so forth. But it's not going as quickly as they wish, right? And so what's happening is there have been some pretty intense attacks on this member of the school board. In recent days, a man called the woman at home, the woman who's the subject of this recall effort, and the male voice, unidentified, said, "I am standing in Starbucks and I'm right next to your daughter." Well, she called the police, and they gave her some protection at her home, and as a result, she withdrew from office rather than put her family at risk. This is the kind of mob stuff, coercion. This is the kind of stuff that happens in fascist government. This is the kind of things that dictators do. Now, are we saying it's centrally controlled? No, I don't know that. I don't have that evidence. It very well may be, but there's no evidence of that. But there is plenty of evidence of coordination and financial support and so forth for this spread of attacks on one of the weak underbelly of elected offices, the first rung of elected offices, that is running for a school board. So how do we deal with that? The same thing is happening at the national level is happening at the local level. Our local leaders, and for this reason, they're leading us poorly. They act like an alcoholic family. Now, as a kid in the Bronx, I saw people deal with drugs and alcoholism. It's not why I became a prosecutor, because of corruption, not because of this. But what I observed about these families, whether it involved drugs or alcohol, is they always acted if nobody knew what was really happening in the family. And, I saw families be helped without realizing that the people were helping them because it was not a secret. We're in that kind of role. We have politicians who think they're concealing from us how bad things are and putting a false face on it, like, bipartisan cooperation. Bullshit. We're working together for America. No, nonsense. There's a division in this country among our elected officials and among the people not to get things done for the people, not to be concerned about the general welfare, not to do what's best for individuals, for children, for anybody. And that's our problem at the national level when it comes to what are they going to do with Bannon for violating the subpoenas. And the answer is they're going to delay the punch. They're going to say, I'm about to punch you, I'm about to punch you. The other day I used an arrow as an example. First they're going to pass a resolution, in committee. Then they're going to ask the House to vote for it. Then they're going to ask the Department of Justice to do something. Then the Department of Justice is going to mess with it. And then nothing's going to happen for weeks or months. And then we're going to go into court. And maybe it'll take years, like it did with McGahn. So what should we be doing? Invoke our inherent powers, arrest the son of a bitch, and prosecute him. You have the power, use it. My dad always said a poor workman always blames his tools. Well, we have tools. We should use them. We should use them because nothing less than our Democratic and Republican small r identity is at risk for these people who want to take over in a non-democratic way. And there's nothing worse than an organized minority facing a disorganized majority. And we're disorganized because our leaders are piping to us this story, which is not true, about cooperation and possibility and stuff like that. I hope it's not true, but you may remember now months ago, I said this bill for internal infrastructure is going to go the way of the dodo bird because it's jerry built and we don't have the organization and we can't get people to agree. And for our failure to get the Republicans to cooperate and legislate, they're going to blame the Democrats for failing. Same thing's going to happen with the investigation of the insurrection on January the 6th. And we have the tools. We have the tools to do it. And the tools that we should use, we're not using. And I don't know what Garland does. In that building, I don't know what he does. I think he takes up space because there's no evidence to me that he thinks this is important. And when Biden even says these people should be prosecuted, he gets rolled back by his own press secretary and staff. Come on. You can't fight a fight if you don't know who you're fighting and what you're fighting for. And that's the problem in America. And we, the people, have to do what we always do. Give these characters backbone and have them do the right thing. So, it's Sunday, and I'm in my magnificent cathedral of trees, and I'm now going to become more peaceful and walk among the verdant roads here in Northern Virginia. I'll talk to you tomorrow. Bye-bye.